I also hope that you had an amazing day. All right, so for today's lesson, we are doing grade 5, or let's say for our grade 5 lesson today, um, we are focusing more on English, and our lesson will be on contractions, right? So before we go on to our English grade 5 lesson on contractions, we're going to log in to aplusstudents.ca. We're going to log in with our username as well as our password. Then we're going to choose the subject of language arts. All right, so once we've chosen the subject of language arts, grade 5, then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of contractions. Right? And once we are within the chapter of contractions, we're going to be focusing on the lesson of pronoun verb contractions as well as contractions with not, right? So the chapter that we are focusing on is contractions, and the lessons that we will be covering today is pronoun verb contractions and contractions with not. All right, let's get into it. So now we're going to pronoun verb contractions. Okay, so a contraction, right? A contraction is a shortened form of two words. So it is a shortened form of two words, right? Then an apostrophe shows where one or more letters are left out, right? So contraction is a shortened form of two words, right? And an apostrophe, it shows where one or more letters are left out, right? And in a contraction, it can be formed from a pronoun and a verb, right? So contraction can be formed from a pronoun and a verb, right? So here we have a few examples of contractions. So say, for example, I am, right? So I am is I'm. So we write it as I'm, which is I apostrophe M, right? So that's I'm and I am. So I am is a shortened word for I'm, right? Then you have you have. So instead of saying you have, right? You can write you have as a contraction, right? Which is more of a shorten, it's like shortening that two words with an apostrophe, right? And then we can say you've instead of you have, right? So you've means you have, or instead of saying you have, we can say you've, right? Then we have you will. So instead of saying you will, we can say you'll, right? So you'll, it's like you apostrophe and double L, right? So we have these three examples of contractions, right? That can either be formed by a pronoun or from a pronoun and a verb, right? Say, for example, I am, which is written as I'm. Then we have you have, which is written as you've. And then we have you will, which is written as you, right? So these are contractions, or just let's say these are but a few contractions. All right, so before we go to our different sentences, right? Let us quickly go to whiteboard. All right. So now here we have a few contractions, right? Basically shows the apostrophes within, oh, sorry, apostrophes within the contractions, right? So we have, remember they said that, we said contractions are two that is shortened, right? And then we basically form one word. So also by adding the apostrophe. So apostrophes in contractions, we have you plus have. So it's like you have. So you plus have. And then it means that our contraction is you've. So you've means you have, right? Or you have is shortened for you've, right? By adding the apostrophe also. Then we have you are. You are. And you are, if we write the contraction of you are with the apostrophe, then it's like saying you were, right? You were, right? And that is you apostrophe R-E for you are. Then we have it is. So instead of saying it is, we can then say the contraction is it's, right? So it's. So it is and it has. Both of it is it's, right? So we can say it's, which is apostrophe s for it is, or it has, right? You're just gonna have to, for example, write it within the right context, as well as the right and proper sentence, right? But both it is and it has, right, uses the same contraction of its, right, which is it apostrophe is. All right, so now we have a list of contractions. Let me make it a bit bigger. So now we have a list of right? So these are but a few of the contractions, or the list of contractions that we have, right? Were not, right? So were not. Were not is, and the contraction that is used is weren't, right? So weren't. And then we have a lot of. So a lot of is like saying a lotter, right? But these, and remember with contractions are more whenever we write informal language, right? Or informal writing. They would, right? It is written as they'd. They would, they'd. I had, I had. So it will be I'd for I had. So we can say I'd is the contraction within that, let's say from I have. So I'd is the contraction of I had. And then we have where would, which is where'd. There would is there'd. Would not is wouldn't. Don't know is dunno. He is his. She is she's. They are it's their. Used to, used to. Oh, used to. But that is not one common one that we use at all, right? Most people, or let's say all of us, just basically write out the two words which is used to. They are, which is there. Got to, have to. See, even have to, we don't use have to, right? Then out of, outer, these are, which is these are. Come on is come on. That had is that. And then let me just do the last one, which is we are, which is we're, right? And of course, there are more contractions that we can basically see or identify. And then we have, oopsie, the most important Oh, oh gosh. Then we have the most important contract, and the most important contractions that we have is that we most commonly use is I am, right? Which is I. He is, which is his. It is, which is its. They are, which is their. You have, which is you've. I will, which is like I'll. Are not, which is aren't. And then we also have you are, which is your. She is, which is she's. We are, which is we're. And then I have, which is I've. And we have, which is we've, right? He will, he'll, cannot, can't. Where is, where's, who are, were. Then we have what are, it's like water. What is, what's, would not, wouldn't, and will not is won't. Then we have hadn't, do not, don't, did not, it's didn't. So can you see there's do not, which is don't, and did not is didn't, could not is couldn't, they will, they'll, she will, she'll, and you had is you'd. So these are the most important contractions and that we use every single day, right? Especially when you are writing or when you are talking. Basically, when you are talking and then you use words like that is more shortened than saying the full word, right? So instead of saying I am, we can say I'm, right? He is, we mainly say he's, right? So contractions are basically the shortened words that we use on basically a daily basis, whether it is once a day, but you'll eventually use it, right? Whether it is in conversation or answering someone or responding to something, right? But eventually we will use any form of contraction, whether we say it's, right? Whether we say I'll or can't or he'll, she'll, what's, whose, right? She's, he's, don't. So that is but a few of the important contractions, right? Or contractions that you mainly or constantly use literally every day, whether in writing or mainly in speaking. All right, let's quickly go back to our tutorial. So a contraction is a short form of two words, right? Then we have an apostrophe that shows where one or more letters are left out, right? And a contraction can be formed from a pronoun and a verb. For example, I am, which is I'm, you have, which is you've, you will, which is you, right? And that is but a few of the contractions. All right, we now need to complete the sentence with the correct contractions, right? You are a great listener and a loyal friend. So if the two words are you are, so you are, then we can say our contraction is going to be you were, right? And that is basically like you are a great listener and a loyal friend. So it's like saying you were a great listener and a loyal friend. All right. We need to complete the sentence with the correct contraction. I have always wanted to visit the White House. So I have is saying I've, right? So I've for I have always wanted to visit the White House. So I've always wanted to visit the White House. All right. Then we have in my science project, if my science project succeed, you will be the first to know. So you will, and you will is spelled as you apostrophe double L. So you. So you, if my science project succeeds, you'll be the first to know. So you, right? All right. Marlon says he is going to the Gilroy Garlic Festival on Sunday, right? He is. He is. So if we look at that word, he is, right? And then we can say he's, right? So he's going to the Gilroy Garlic Festival on Sunday. So he's. So Marlon says he's going to the Gilroy Garlic Festival, right? So his is our correct word. All right. They will send two reporters to the scene of the crime. So they will. So if we add our contractions over here, then it will be they'll. Oopsie. So it will be they'll for they will. Oopsie. So they will is like saying they'll send two reporters to the scene of the crime. So they'll is the correct contraction. They'll. They'll is the shortest form of they will, right? It's the shortened form of they will. All right. All right. We can rest now that we have accomplished our goal for today. So we can rest now. We have accomplished our goal for today. So we need to look at the word we have, right? We have. So if we write that in the shortened form, then we can say it's we've, right? Okay, let me make the E right. So we've. right? So we can rest now that we have accomplished our goal for the day, which is we've accomplished our goal for the day. All right, let's do the last one. If my science project succeed, you so you'll be the first to know, right? So you will is like saying you, right? All right. Now we've already done next and next. Let's go to the test. The test on pronoun verb contraction. I will run. I will run for student council vice president if Molly doesn't want to. So I will. So I will. Is it I will? Or is it I'll, which is I apostrophe double L, or I'll, which is like a passage, a rose. All right, so you need to find the correct contraction within that sentence. So I will. So I will is I'll, right? Yes, so I'll. Dr. Daniel says she will be back after she takes a look at your x rays. She will, so we will say she'll. Uh-huh. All right. Then we have Marlon says he is going to the Gilroy Garlic Festival on Sunday. So he is, right? So if we were to identify the word that is he is, it is he. He's an apostrophe is. All right. You have done a great job decorating the room for the Halloween party. So you have. So we're going to say it is you've, right? You've. All right. And then I have always wanted to visit the White House. So it is I've. I apostrophe B E. All right. If you ask the librarian, so if you ask the librarian, she will help you find the magazines you want. So she will, she'll. So she'll, which is she apostrophe double S for she'll, right? And then they will send two reporters to the scene of the crime. They will. So we can say they'll. They will is they'll. All right. So that is oopsie, that is basically contractions, right? That is contractions. Oopsie. And contractions is where it is like two words are shortened, right? And we mainly use contractions literally in our everyday speech. It's either you say she'll, he'll, right? We'll, they'll, there, right? Those are all words that we use in, let's say, every day with either our friends communicating, right? All right. So if my science project succeed, you will be the first to know. So you be the first to know, right? All right. So that is basically the pronoun verb contractions. So now we're going with contractions with not, not, right? The buds probably will not bloom into flowers for a few more days. So we need to complete the sentence with the correct contraction. The buds probably will not bloom into flowers for few more days. All right, so basically, once again, a contraction is a shortened form of two words, right? And an apostrophe shows where one or more letters are left out, right? And a contraction can be formed from a verb and the word not. So it can be formed from a verb and from the word not, right? And the spelling of that verb does not change, right? And the apostrophe takes the place of the O, right? All right, so is not. So if we, for example, say is not, right? And then it means yes, it is, isn't. So isn't is not, right? So isn't, it's is not. Then we have were not. So were not, right? And were not is weren't, right? Then we have cannot. I cannot do this, right? And then we say can't with a t. So can't, an apostrophe s. Can't or cannot. So can't. Then the contractions won't is special because the spelling of the word changes. So will not will be won't, right? So won't will be will not. So will not is shortened for won't. All right. So complete the sentence with the correct contractions. The buds probably will not bloom into flowers for the few days. So will not will be won't, right? Bloom into flowers for a few days. All right. The city's population was not increasing as quickly as it had in years past. So was not increasing as quickly as it had in the years past. So the city's pollution was not. So if we say was not, then we can say wasn't. Right? Let me write it down. Was not, so we can say wasn't. Oopsie. All right. So was not is wasn't. So the city's population wasn't increasing as quickly as it had in years past. And then we already have the was not because I wanted to reread that sentence. You need to complete the sentence with the correct contraction. I do not remember how to get to Roger's house. I do not remember how to get to Roger's house. So first, oopsie. All right. Where did I put that one? Okay. Anyways, let us go to next. I do not remember how to get to Roger's house. So if you do not remember, then we can put you for I don't remember. Right? So do not is don't. And then the protesters did not, so the protesters did not like the mayor's new law that limited downtown parking. So did not is like didn't, right? So did not is didn't. So the protesters did not or didn't like the mayor's new law that limited downtown parking, right? So did not is shortened for didn't. And the apostrophe is also the apostrophe T. All right, so now we're going to do a test. Let's go to our test on contractions with not. Diane and Luke have not seen the new documentary yet. Have not. So is our answer have not. Remember, we need to shorten it or haven't. So have not is shortened for haven't. All right. The protesters did not like the mayor's new law that limited downtown parking. So did not. If did not, then we have didn't. Didn't. Right? All right. The chapters of the science book are not long, but they are full of information. So if we say, for example, are not, and then we will say aren't. All right. I'll try to tell the plot of the film, but I cannot remember all the details. Right? So we cannot remember all the details. So aren't is correct. So cannot, is it cannot or can't? So cannot or can't that we need to choose. So if we say can't, which is short for cannot, then that is correct. So well done. The city's population was not increasing as quickly as it had in years past. So was not, right? The shortens for was not is wasn't. Oopsie, let me, yes, yes. So wasn't, so well done. So wasn't is correct. That television show is not particularly humorous or entertaining. So is not. So the television show is not. All right, so which means that we're going to go with isn't. Uh, uh, uh. All right, so isn't, yes, well done. So isn't is correct. Isn't is correct. I do not remember how to get to Roger's house. I do not remember. Do not remember. All right, so if we choose the correct word, then we will say don't, right? So do not is don't. So well done. Okay. Then we are doing the last one, which is the buds probably will not bloom into flowers for a few more days. So will not. All right, so if we say will not, then it means won't. So we will say won't because won't is the shortened for will not. Oh, well done. Well done. All right, so that is basically contractions, right? These are basically contractions where we first went over the lesson of pronoun verb contractions or contractions with not, right? All right, so now we're going to do a final test, right? We're going to do a final actions, right? On contract. Okay, let's go to the final test. You are a great listener and a loyal friend. You are a great listener and loyal friend. All right, so you are, if we choose the correct, let's say contraction, and then it's going to be you are, which is you were. So you were, right? Oh, well done. So yes, well done. You were is correct. The protesters did not like the mayor's new law that limited downtown parking. So, did not, either did not or didn't. Did not or didn't. So, do not is didn't, right? All right. I will run for student council vice president if Molly doesn't want to run. So I will run for student council vice president if Molly doesn't want to. So I will is I'll. Good, well done. The city's problem was not increasing as quickly as it had in years. So was not. So was not. We'll choose wasn't. Where am I? All right. Let's do one more. If my okay, two more. If my science project succeeds, you will be the first to know. So you will, is it you will or you. So you will or you. We need to choose the correct contraction. If my science project succeeds, you will be the first to know. So the word you will, we need to find the contraction of that two words. All right, so if okay, we say you, we mean you will, right? You or you will. All right, well done. Marlon says he is going to the Gilroy Garlic Festival on Sunday. Is it he is, he's, or he's without the apostrophe? So he is with apostrophe, or he's with no either. There's no punctuation, no apostrophe, nothing. All right. So if we choose he is, Marlon says he is going to the Gilmore Garlic Festival on Sunday, then it is his. Let's go with his. All right. And that television show is not particularly humorous and entertaining. Is not. Is it is not or isn't? Is not or isn't. We need to choose the correct contraction. Is not or isn't. That shortens that two words, which is is and not. So is and not being shortened. All right, so if we shorten is not, right, is not, then we say isn't, right? Good. All right, so that is basically contractions, right? That is basically contractions. And we said contractions is words that is shortened, right? It is a contraction is a shortened form of two words. So it's two words that is being shortened, and then we put an apostrophe to show where one or more letters are left out, right? So, for example, letters that being left out, then either we add, for example, double L or VE or M or so on, or S for his. So a contraction can be formed from a pronoun and a verb, right? And a contraction, once again, is a shortened form of two words. And the apostrophe in that contraction shows where one or more letters are left out. All right, so grade fives, that is now the end of our lesson on contractions, right? And like I said, we went over the the lessons of pronoun verb contractions and as well as contractions with not, right? And then we even had a bonus where we were able to do the final test. All right, so that is the end of our lessons, grade 5. Thank you very much for logging in. Thank you very much for being interactive. You should have a great evening, brother. Goodbye.